Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for the World Hug Group presentation on how we can better protect children against child abuse.
At World Hug Group, we believe that children have the power to create great and positive change in our world. They are, after all, our future. We must begin by being an example to them by taking proper care of them and ensuring that every child is protected, heard, and respected.
We work together for the safety and well-being of all children. We operate in Costa Rica, Canada, and Mexico.
Our vision for children: for every child to be raised with the skills to stand up against abuse in as safe and as healthy an environment as possible. For adults: for every person to have the correct view of abuse and how to deal with it. Our mission: to educate and empower individuals and communities to become informed upstanders.
We would like to begin by sharing some important statistics with all of you. If you are here, it is because you care about children and their safety. These statistics will help show the magnitude of the issue at hand and also give us some clues on how we can work together for the safety of all children.
1 in 2 children aged 2 to 17 years suffered violence in the past year. Violence includes physical, mental, and sexual violence. And violence of any kind has serious negative consequences for a child's life and development. Let's work together to bring safety to all children.
1 out of every 4 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys will be victims of child sexual abuse before they turn 18. This is a very important statistic because it highlights how prevalent the issue is and also how it happens to both girls and boys.
91% or more of the children that experience sexual abuse know their abuser. Approximately 30% of child sexual abuse crimes are committed by a family member. As children, we are taught about stranger danger, and yet, as this quote shows, the majority of abuse is perpetuated by someone close to the child and his family. It is important to note that a large percentage of abuse is by family members. This is why we as adults have to learn tools to be able to identify red flags and dangerous behaviors, and also teach children how to identify if they don't feel comfortable, how to say no, and how to ask for help.
Children rarely lie when disclosing sexual assault. In 98% of reports by children, their statements are found to be true. This statistic is very important because most children are afraid of speaking up and disclosing their abuse. Like this statistic shows, 98% of cases reported are true. It is very rare for a child to lie, so if a child is telling us something, it is important to listen to them and believe them.
73% of children don't disclose sexual abuse for at least 1 year. 45% don't tell anyone for 5 years, and others never disclose their abuse at all. There are many reasons why children don't disclose their abuse, such as fear, shame, guilt, or confusion. We must work to make sure all children feel safe to speak up if something happens to them. We must also understand why a child sometimes takes many years to disclose what happened.
Young women who had not participated in a school abuse prevention program in childhood were about twice as likely to have experienced child sexual abuse as those who had participated in a prevention program. If we teach programs against child abuse in schools, we can reduce the risk up to 50% of a child getting abused.
A Australian research indicates 1 in 3 adults would not believe children if they disclosed they were being abused. This is a very shocking and sad statistic. We want to think that all adults will believe a child if they tell them about any abuse they have experienced. Unfortunately, this is not the case, and this is why many times children are afraid to speak up. Let's change this together.
Join us.
Be
part of the solution.
Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. Sometimes we don't know where to start, but it is important to start somewhere.
We would now like to share 5 tips that we can all learn as adults to better protect the children in our lives and around us.
Number 1, get informed. It is very important to understand key words and concepts on child safety so that we can equip ourselves and our children to properly address any type of dangerous situation. Some important concepts are negative grooming, bystanders, gaslighting. For more information, please visit our website. Negative grooming. Grooming usually starts with behaviors that don't look inappropriate, and they could even be seen as the adult being attentive and kind towards a child. Abusers target children that are vulnerable, and they start by finding ways to fulfill their needs. Affective, economic, role model, etc. Negative grooming begins with actions that look harmless or even positive, but the abusers use this to gain access to the child and their family, and once their trust is gained, abuses the child in secret. Gaslighting is a type of emotional abuse where the bully or abuser misleads and confuses the victim, creating a false narrative and making the victim question their own judgment. The victim of gaslighting starts to feel unsure about how things happen, to the point where they will believe whatever their abusers tell them, instead of the actual facts. Active bystander. Being an active bystander can literally save a child's life. A trained bystander can recognize an unsafe situation and is able to take the required action to safely intervene. Prevention is key when we talk about abuse. There are specific behaviors that we should all learn to recognize.
Number 2, learn to identify red flags. Some red flag behaviors to watch for. A. An adult targeting specific kids for special attention, activities, or gifts. Some offenders show preference for a particular gender, age, or type. Grooming starts with friendship to gain the trust of the kid and their caregiver. B. An adult spending a lot of time with a single child is a red flag. The rule of 3 is important. Always try to have at least 2 adults and 1 child present, or 1 adult and 2 children present. C. An adult slowly isolating a kid from family members and friends, physically and emotionally. This could include finding reasons for isolated, one-on-one situations. D. An adult gradually crossing physical boundaries, such as tickling, showering together, etc. E. An adult encouraging a kid to keep secrets from family members. The shame and fear associated with child sexual abuse makes it easy for offenders to enforce secrecy in this area as well, keeping abuse just between us.
Number 3, respond properly if you witness abuse. Bystander intervention can play a major role in keeping kids safe. A bystander is a person who witnesses a boundary violation or sees a situation in which a child is vulnerable. An active bystander goes a step further by taking proactive action to restore safety when a child needs help. It takes courage to step up and step in. By getting help or saying something, you are part of the solution. Watching and doing nothing makes you part of the problem. So what can you do if you witness abuse? RAIN, an anti-sexual violence organization, gives us the following suggestions. Create a distraction. Ask directly. Refer to an authority. Enlist others.
Number 4, prevent threatening situations. There are steps that we can all take to minimize the possibility of abuse and dangerous situations for children. Here we share some further tips. Be aware that abusers often become friendly with victims and their families. Adults and kids should avoid unsupervised one-on-one situations. It doesn't matter if the adult is a family member, a coach, a priest, a teacher, etc. Be a safety example by personally avoiding isolated one-on-one situations with children other than your own. Establish safety parameters for situations where older youth have access to younger children. Don't allow them to play in isolated places without adult supervision. Supervise when children are interacting with one another and make sure they can be observed and interrupted. Internet should be used in an open space where you can supervise the content kids are exposed to.
Number 5. Implement family safety rules. Maintaining safety at home and within the family is something that cannot be accomplished by a single person, but needs participation from everyone in the family. 3 easy rules everyone can implement with their families to keep children safe are: 1. Always ask first rule. EarlyOpenOften.org says that, alongside your family's other safety rules, establish an always ask first rule. This means that your kids should always ask you or the adult in charge before anyone can give them something, take them somewhere, or do something with them. Number 2, the safety family word rule. A family code word or phrase can make it much easier for a child to ask for help. As Protect Your Minds organisations tell us, if a child could call and say, "My eyes are burning," or "My stomach feels strange," when they use the agreed upon code phrase, you know your child can't tell you what's wrong, but they need to be picked up right away. 3. The rule of 3. To prevent dangerous situations, make sure there are 2 adults and 1 kid, or 2 kids and 1 adult at all times. As Darkness to Light organisation highlights, if you eliminate or reduce isolated one-on-one situations between children and adults, as well as children and other youth, you'll dramatically reduce the risk of sexual abuse.
Thank you very much for joining us. Please visit our website and sign up to our newsletter for more information.